everyone, my name is Vedanshi Vala, and I am the co-founder and executive director of Bolt Safety Society. I'm calling from the West Coast right now in British Columbia, and the reason that I'm here today is to talk to you about the process of incorporating as a nonprofit organization, something that I was able to have experience with when we incorporated Bolt Safety Society. By doing Rising Youth projects, my team and I were able to learn valuable skills like budgeting, consultation with community experts, conducting research, doing event planning, and really just teamwork. And I think that by doing these projects, our team was able to compound a solid vision for what we wanted our organization to do and achieve. So, why is incorporating as a nonprofit an important skill for youth, in my opinion? Well, I think that first of all, incorporation isn't the right move for everyone, but it is the perfect path forward for others. Knowing how you can take your project forward and understanding the process of both establishing and running your own organization allows youth to make informed decisions about whether or not to incorporate. There is a very good reason for this as well. As a registered entity, we are held accountable to the Canada Not-for-Profit Corporations Act. So stakeholders in the community know that we have a certain governing structure, like we have a board of directors, we have a democratic voting process by which certain major decisions are made in our organization. We have bylaws and we fulfill reporting obligations to remain operationally active. So it's important for people to know that you are doing these things and that you're being held accountable to an extent. So incorporation initially seems very intimidating. I've been there, believe me, but it is something that you can do even as a young person, as long as you have the right tools, knowledge, and resources, and that's what we're here for today. So what are the differences between provincial and federal incorporation? The difference is in jurisdiction. If you're incorporated provincially, your operational focus is most likely going to be in province. So for instance, if you're a BC society, that means that you're going to be focusing your work in British Columbia. But if you're incorporated federally, you either already work or you want to work Canada-wide. Being federally incorporated does not mean you don't need to do any other registration. Many Canadian provinces actually require that you complete additional registration despite federal status. So now, what are the benefits and risks of incorporation? So first of all, you are an entrepreneur, right? You're putting something unique and original out into the world, and you want to protect that. And so that's one of the major benefits of incorporation. The next thing is that if you are registered, there are more avenues for getting awards and grants and funding, donations as well. Many organizations will only entertain donation requests if you're a registered charity, for instance. So now let's talk about the risks, right? I wouldn't exactly call this a huge risk that would, stop you from incorporating, but it is something to be aware of. It's not free to incorporate. There are some basic costs involved with the process. And while they're not exorbitant, if you aren't making any money, any cost is a risk. So really, before incorporating, I would suggest that you really spend time thinking about whether your organization has avenues for funding. For instance, be it through merchandise sales, paid services, donations, fundraisers, or grants. I also want to be really clear that incorporation is not the only way to go about making a difference in the community. So choosing not to incorporate after a successful project does not devalue what you've already achieved with your project. So really be introspective on the feasibility of becoming a nonprofit. Do you have a committed team? Do you have a clear vision? Do you have the financial resources? Do you have access to the expertise? And are you in this for the short term, or are you really ready to commit? Now, this all sounds scary, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It just means you should be aware of what you're getting yourself into and be prepared for it. So now let's talk through the process of federal incorporation. So during the online incorporation process, you're essentially filling out a form with details about your corporation and its first initial board of directors. Things you will need to provide during the incorporation process include your corporate name, the province in which your registered office is situated. So you will need to provide an address for all initial board of directors, as well as for the registered records office, which can be a residential address if you don't actually have an office yet. Do bear in mind that this information is publicly available, and to mitigate privacy concerns, law firms can actually act as your registered records office address, although they may charge for that service. You're also going to need to provide a statement on the purpose of your corporation. So after incorporation, you will be required to prepare your bylaws. If you're incorporating extra provincially in any province afterwards, or if you go to the bank to set up a bank account, these are two examples where you may need to provide a copy of your bylaws and articles of incorporation, as well as your certificate of incorporation. So these three are probably three of the most important corporate documents that you need to keep safely and accessible anytime that you may need them. And finally, just remember why you got started and remember why you are doing what you are doing. That sense of purpose will make absolutely anything and everything seem feasible. So, good luck.